especially if the young Caymanian women were overly friendly to the Americans. On several occasions, fights between the Caymanian men and American military would break out near the town hall, with the most serious incident taking place in December 1943 when 40 of the Caymanian men were home on leave.
The Rotary Central Music Extravaganza is Saturday, November 26th. Your ticket, your chance, your prize. Grand prize $40,000. Second prize $4,000. 6 $1,000 prizes and more. Get your $25 tickets now through Rotary Central members, Rotary Central ticket sellers, eventpro.ky, or WhatsApp Rotarian Annie Rose Scott in Caymanbrack at 916-7310. The Rotary Music Extravaganza at Salty's Grand Harbor. Performances by Heat, Fabulous 68s, and CNB. November 26th, you can be the winner. Proceeds fund Rotary Central Community Projects. Rotary Central NPO number 232. Rotary, all the good you imagine.
Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331.
Talk Today is proudly brought to you by Pirates Fest 2022. Stay in the know. Get the full event lineup at piratesfestcayman.com.
And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village. Convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. You may think it's Monday, but even feel like a Friday. But it's just Tuesday and almost the end of this year. Can you believe it? Well, I know it's been a challenge, so let's up the opportunity to start things off with some open line, and you can share your thoughts with us. I don't know about you, but it's been a lot that's been happening, a lot of discussion. Maybe as we return, we can talk about transportation, roads, road networks, public, and I mean public transportation system. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. 949-8037, 1-800-534-TALK, 1-800-534-8255. That's the Flow toll-free line. You can share your thoughts with us in any way that you feel helps you to get the most, sort of immediate access to ensure that your comments and your contributions are not only received and respected, but are shared in a way that should engender a greater discourse and dialogue. Hey, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. You can WhatsApp 925-3261. I'm always so grateful for the what seems now to be countless individuals who are, and I say this with great respect. a sense of almost unworthiness in a way. The people who have been willing to share what is not necessarily, absolute confidential, but somewhat certainly doesn't betray any state secrets. Even if you're like me and others who have signed the Official Secrets Act long ago, it's not to betray that. It's just to ensure people have a sense of what is transpiring in our society, to what extent is it public knowledge, and to what extent is it being publicly disseminated. And once that happens, to what extent is it being discussed? If he would not mind me saying, I see him as being, a fine gentleman, not just because of his acumen, but his ethos, his humility, and perhaps, like many, growing frustration. My word, seeing him exercise great patience and a sense of reservation at times, and not becoming irate at some of what perhaps many would have considered to be, nonsense, just being bantered about. But as he shared, when are we going to get to the table to appreciate that a house divided can't stand? And as he was reminding us again, we're looking at road corridors and networks. How do we ensure our infrastructure not just takes us through the 21st century, but ensures that the way we use our roads, the way we move people, is not only safe and efficient and effective, it's one that is respectful to the environment, the physical environment, but also the social environment. He shared that there have been times, like many, we've traveled to different places and the transport mode is very crowded, not just unsafe because of the way it's used, the people who are in the spaces, but the infrastructure isn't being properly maintained and the like. But he also says, when you're in that mode of public transport, you, the person, is not only subjected to the close proximity of others, but there are times when things transpire that don't necessarily make you the most comfortable. And then there are other times where it's the delay and the like. And he's wondering, when are we going to look at proper examples and see what we can implement? Is it a need for a more sort of considered social perspective to much of our planning? He shares that when you look at, say, some of the developed nations, the US in particular, reports have come out that many of their bridges and roads and the like are in dire need of maintenance. Some probably would be condemned, perhaps, but are still usable. Some, as he said, it's not just the evident potholes and the obvious things that would cause people to look at the road and say it's in disrepair, but what about the structural integrity? Now, a lot of money is being expended on many things, but he says, what are we doing for the safety of people within our own shores? And he asked that question in relation to even Cayman, when we're looking at developing a road network. So I'll invite you. You may be privy to some of the things that are in the public domain. You may recall things that are historical. We probably would quickly, as we talk about roads, go back to I think it was 1988. It may have been 1992, but I think it may have been as, recent as 1988, the Master Ground Transportation Plan. There are many who said the proposed $20 million that were expected to be expended in that project was exorbitant. I'm not going to weigh in whether it was a good deal then or whether it's hindsight, an excellent deal, or whether you think it was exorbitant. There are many who would share that if we failed, seemingly, as some have alleged, to reserve the road corridors by not entrenching it in legislation, by insisting that some places are not only constructed on what would have been the roadways, but not moving forward with the plan, whether we built anything or not, just to reserve it, what does that cost us now? But as this fine gentleman reminds us, well, if we made a mistake 5 years ago or 50 years ago, and we opt to repeat it 5 minutes from now, are we any better off any further ahead? So, share with me if you are inclined. 949-8037, 949-8037. Toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. It's a call if you're a Flo subscriber. 1-800-534-8255. I do know from time to time, as you shared with me, and if you have that problem, please let us know as well, so that we can figure out whether it's just a one-off or if it's more frequent than we understand. Some of you who say, when you call, you get a recording, even though you're a Flo subscriber, that if you stay on the line, you'll be charged for the call. Now, we know that other non-Flo subscribers presumably encounter that. But as a Flo subscriber, you're not. So if that happens, hey, technology is a great thing, just let it be your master. And don't let it dictate to you the direction, your path should go. Well, roads and the construction, that's only the design and development, the construction, the maintenance, and then the perceived added value as we go forward. What does that do for us? Is it that maybe we don't build roads? What does my friends, from TNT talk about? The flyovers? Is that how you say it, Mr. Paul? He would tell me one time about these flyovers, and I go, what do you mean? Planes going overhead? And in the US, there may be overpasses and the like. We got, I don't know exactly how you would say it, but 2 tunnels in Cayman. Some of you refer to something else. Well, they look like a tunnel when I go through, but for the lighting, even though they're not long, and they remind me of what a tunnel will look like. Well, do we excavate under the ground? Do we create skyhooks in this and get people to move? Do we see if the hyperloop can work? You may think it's being facetious, you may think it's just an attempt at jovial, but as we had a number of students sit with us a couple of years back and just brainstorm, nothing was considered to be observed. It's that true exercise of brainstorming. You get young, engaged minds, they would come up with things. Then after analysis, they might say, well, it's feasible, but is it something that you want to undertake? Because of this and that. I'll give you as an example. 2 of them said, what if you created, just offshore? My best way to understand it was to look at what in Florida they refer to as causeways. They just slightly offshore above the water, and you move across. Is that something you could do? Say from the eastern districts into somewhere within the West Bay Peninsula. Is there a ferry-like service that could take you? Not unlike what the catboats were way back when. But what if there is something else? And instead of punishing people because of the taxes and the cost of insurance and licensing and the like and do this for cars, maybe we incentivize them and we ensure that the way that they can get from point A to point B is reliable, it's safe, it's efficient, they know that they can move relatively easy and on time. Now, not always achievable, but is that something that we can do? We don't have to just talk about roads, but we can. I did promise a handful of individuals that since they took time to remind me of the proposals of the Master Ground Transportation Plan, which for them was a seminal point in the country's development, that like many things are falling by the wayside. Well, weigh in, share your thoughts. 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. We'll have some open line up until 1 p.m. Thereafter at the 1 p.m. hour, we'll welcome Dr. Shari Smith from the Education Secretariat, the Scholarship Secretariat, to talk to us. Well, always good to learn more. So let's engage. Please join us after the break.
Subway makes it easy for you to stay on top of your health and wellness goals with our Fresh Fit menu options. Choose from 5 Fresh Fit Subway sandwiches with only 450 calories or less per 6-inch sub. Turkey breast, veggie, oven roasted chicken, black forest ham, sweet onion chicken teriyaki, or make your 6-inch Fresh Fit sub into a salad or wrap prepared with fresh vegetables. For a full menu and nutritional information, visit subway.ky.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Members of the public are reminded that the Seafarers Awards ceremony will be taking place this afternoon, 4 o'clock, at the Allen McLaughlin Civic Center in East End.
Pirates Fest. A little bit of old, a little bit of new. The evolution of Cayman's Pirates. A little bit of fun for everyone. Grand Cayman festivities from November 10th through the 20th. 10 days, 33 events. From happy hour parties, cardboard boat races, the Trial of the Pirates, float parade, national song competition, pooch parades, races, fireworks. So many fireworks. Pirates Fest is here. 33 events, 10 days, November 10th through the 20th. Stay in the know. Get the full event lineup at piratesfestcayman.com.
Pirates fire, raging through Church Street, bright and little Cayman, putting on some heat.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walkers Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Pure and cleaner.
Now is the time, and we're ready to help you with your household cleaning needs. And that is bedspreads, comforters, duvets, duvet covers, drapes, and so much more. All items at 7% off prepay, and turnaround time will be 2 to 3 days. Orders can be handled at all 2 stores, Savannah Countryside and Eastern Avenue, drive-through, rain or shine. All stores close at 5:30 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays. Call 949-7104. That's 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners. You feel good when you look good. Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. 949-8837 or toll free with the compliments of Flo, 1-800-534-8255. One or two of you off air during the break did share that you are experiencing some challenges when you call the 800 number. It says if you stay on the line, you will be charged. I tried calling it. I did not get that. So I can only go by what you share, and if you should know whether you are a Flow subscriber or not. But it happens, though. For some people, what is it Orwell tells us, all men are created equal, but some are more equal than others. So, seems to be the case. All right. 949-8037. 949-6990. Or 1-800-534-8255. And you share your thoughts with us if you so choose. Now, it's interesting as I look at a couple of comments here from some of our listeners who shared it through, and maybe start with the last piece here in relation to our comment. So look, we employ the accounting method, last in, first out. Following up on our comments just then about the Master Ground Transportation Plan and the need and the like. We'll get to that. Well, let's go to the phones. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Hello, Mr. Sterling. This is Dr. Jha. How are you, sir?
Hey, good to hear you, sir. How are you today?
Thank you. While I was driving, I was hearing your talk, so I thought I should also put my just a little whatever I think.
Well, I am honored that you would take time, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So, obviously, the issue of the traffic is if we consider that it has a lot of impact onto the livelihood of the people and the lifestyle of the people.
Mm-hmm.
It affects everywhere. It affects them financially.
Mm-hmm.
It affects them mentally. It affects them health-wise because they are just inhaling more smoke onto the road.
Mm-hmm.
And it affects them in their lifestyle socially because they have very little time left for their children to really participate in everyday's activity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really put it all the things together, we need to alleviate this issue, considering that this is the issue of the society, it's not an issue of, and for well-being of the society, it is paramount, right? Now, what can we do about it? I think if we really just participate by just doing little more by adding 2 lanes in the morning and close 1 lane, which is like a ongoing and off-going traffic, we can add those lanes in the evening hours for people to go home a little earlier or coming to the work. It can be done vice versa. We can also create some sort of, we have a lot of these roundabouts going towards the east side of the island, and where most of the Caymanians actually live and most of the residents live. We can utilize these roundabouts to really say, okay, this roundabout for this hour is closed, so you cannot really turn, and you have to go a little longer path to get to. So I suppose if we were to really get to the tropical garden, let's put it this way, the evening traffic coming to the tropical garden, everybody tried to cut towards the tropical garden roundabout. It locks the whole traffic coming from the town side.
Mm-hmm.
So all we can do is, okay, we're going to create a tropical garden area only for those who want to get into the tropical garden, and the rest of the people have to take a little longer path, which is probably the downtown reach or the Jose gas station.
Mm-hmm.
So it basically breaks down the whole thing into 2 or 3 concepts and allows the traffic which is going towards the east side little a smoother ride. The other issue that I really realize is which I am trying to promote, but it has not really taken any footing, is we need to find for the school buses pick up and drop up point, but not on the highways.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They have to go inside and then get out, and then go inside and get out, so it doesn't really affect the traffic. Right now, this stop sign holds both sides of the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine when we are getting, it was okay when we were 18, 20,000 people, but right now I think we are going almost like 70, 80,000 people.
If not closer to 100, or well on the way.
So it's a domino effect. If you're going to stop 1 car, you're going to stop 100 cars behind, and 100 going to stop another 1,000.
Right.
And this whole exercise starts somewhere around the same 340, 350, where the school buses are on the road. They start dropping the children.
Mm-hmm.
And from then onward, the whole traffic towards the east is all chaos. Then
Mm-hmm.
it's done.
What do you do? And I appreciate you sharing. And for what it's worth, I was just about to read from a message that speaks almost exactly to what you mentioned outside about the cost. The cost financially, the health, their lost productivity and the like. But you mentioned like school buses, and even I would say extend that to other modes of transport. With great respect, I can't call it public transport because of what that definition means to me in terms of the perception that people would have, where that is either something that is contracted by the government to a private purveyor, or whether it's owned and operated by the government. But if those...
So let's put it this way. Okay, the cost of adding highways versus adding one extra bus.
Right.
So if it is a ongoing and opposite traffic, there are two traffics that we have issues right now, right? If the bus, there is a stopping sign somewhere for the bus, where you can create like another 10 feet of a parking point for these buses. It can be on both sides of the road. Okay. If there is a child to be dropped onto the right or to the left, obviously bus has to go to the left. We have roundabout after roundabouts now, right? There could be two buses running. There may be not enough children into those buses, but there are two buses running, which would exactly define where this child is going to be dropped off. So we are not adding any risk to the child by crossing the roads and so forth. But these are doable things. Only thing is that the cost of the bus or running a bus probably, but obviously that would be very comfortable to really add that little cost on there.
Right. So
they know that the safety of the child is a paramount.
Right.
And can be done.
Yeah. So to your point, and I'm glad I wanted to emphasize that. So if we have a bus taking the children from after school, let's say they're going east.
Okay, so I give you a little example. Let's put it there that we are on the Linford Pearson, right? And there are 4 lanes there,
right?
And there are some people who are living when going towards the east. We are living on to this community which is behind the downtown reach. And then there is a community which is living towards the Crew Road side, right? Now the Crew Road side going towards the east can be dropped off without any issues because the children are just going on to the left side. The children for the right side, all they have to do is take a roundabout turn and come back onto towards the downtown, wherever that stop for the buses, and that can be dropped off. Now, if we don't want the same bus to take 2 rounds, okay, agreed. We can add one extra bus for traffic going on this side of the road or that side of the road, but this can be done.
And that way then, so you'd have the children as they're leaving school, for instance, we would know whether this group of children will be dropped on the left side of the road or whether they'll be dropped on the right side and in front of them.
Exactly.
Okay. And a little bit more coordination, perhaps addition of added personnel in buses, but would probably be not just safer but cheaper too than building a road.
Yeah, because millions and millions the government can really subsidize or whatever towards the school buses or whatever you want to do.
Right.
But it is doable thing.
Well, could we also again, in what I understand, a brainstorming exercise, you just throw an idea out and then it's critiqued after. You just get it on paper, you record it, and then you critique it. Given that a lot of the schools are, I don't want to say congested, but they're certainly, in a similar area, public schools, the ones that are run by institutions, including the churches and then the government schools, they're in close proximity. Could we say, hey, you've got students over here from this school and students over here from that school. We pool them and we put them on the bus and move them together, irrespective of the schools.
And you said it right. And not only that, we are promoting children to have some sort of extra physical activity. Have an issue of excessive gain, weight, and all that kind of issues. We need to really allow some sort of more, activity, which can be cardio or whatever it is. If walking 500, meters extra, if it's not a big issue, I think children should be promoted to really do some sort of more physical activity.
Well, I'll share with you something I've heard. I mean, today is, I was going to say Monday, but it is Tuesday. So somewhat is Monday. Count last Monday to today. I've at least heard it maybe 4 or 5 times, if not more. Parents who live relatively close to the school that their children attend have shared that they would love for the child to walk home after school for many reasons: the little exercise, the little sunshine, the little fresh air. They're coming home, so they don't have to worry about being sweaty as opposed to walking to school even though it's cooler. But all of the parents have expressed a concern for the child's safety. Not only, being accosted and harassed by other people, sadly, that happens, but the way we as drivers drive on the roads, even in areas that we see people, in particular children, in areas that are not just residential but are, near schools. So is it something that we can do as the road users and be a little bit more sensible, if I could use that word? One parent, I don't think that I'm saying anything that would be improper or considered to be speaking out of school, no pun intended. He shared, between him and the spouse, sharing, who picks up the child at what point when they live relatively close to the school. It would be convenient for them, not have to go and beat the traffic and all the things. But out of concern for the child's safety in terms of other road users, will have refused for the child to walk home, even when the child wants to walk. So that speaks to our perception of how safe the roads are for pedestrians, in particular school children walking from school.
Yeah, so obviously these are the issues which can be very constructively resolved without adding millions and millions and thinking about that we have to have overheads and we have to under bypass and then flooding and all those kind of things. So I think we just have put the whole map back onto the table and say, okay, this is how the traffic is going to run. This is going to be only one way during the peak hours, and this is going to be the thing, or this is going to be in the evening.
Okay.
And this is the drop-off point for the buses. For the safety of the children, drop-off points can be both sides of the road.
Right.
And once we really come to answer, I definitely feel that we can cut down some of the. But as I said, it's. I feel sometimes sad in Cayman Islands. Parents reaching to their home at 7:30 in the evening, and they left their work at 5:30 because of the traffic issue. Imagine how much time they are left with their child to really participate.
And they're exhausted mentally. They're probably, agitated and different things, right?
Yeah.
As we go into
talk about this whole concept of ESG and this and that, and how much extra fuel is burnt on that road, which can be just avoided.
Right, and the potential added maintenance to the vehicle. As we go into the break, you can weigh in if you wish. This listener shares that.
No, well, that was my just chip in. I thought.
Okay. All right. Hey, thank you very much, Dr. Jha.
I appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you very soon. Thanks for the time. Well, let's pause, take that break. We'll share the WhatsApp message from our listener when we come back. It talks about cars. Hey, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences. Pan in the City. Finally back to Grace Seafarer's Way, proudly sponsored by CUC. Pan in the City returns to showcase Cayman's steel pan talents with both young and adult bands, igniting some Caribbean rhythm. Thursday, November 17th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. on Seafarer's Way in Georgetown.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Hello, Cayman Islands. This is Carly Davis. Come and enjoy an evening of thanksgiving and praise at Cayman Gospel Fest on Saturday, November 19th at the Lions Center. Come see Cayman's best performers and church choirs. My band and I will be there. Admission is free. See you Saturday, November 19th at the Lions Center with Cayman Gospel Fest. You cannot afford to miss it. Yes, come out and let's have fun together.
Brought to you by the Progressives, celebrating 20 years of service to the Cayman Islands.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling DWAYNE EBANKS.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. There's some open lineup till the headline news at 1, when we expect the excellent company of Dr. Shari Smith to tell us about education and scholarships and the like. And you know what? We could have some fun, and she might present on air. Here's a scholarship. Nah, she won't do that. You have to apply, and she'll tell you about the process. But let's have some open line. We're talking about roads, and some of you may have heard the ongoing discussions. They may even be in the public domain relative to, more discussions and consultations and the like. But it doesn't take much to appreciate that many of us, as Dr. Jha, in his normal, expected professionalism and absolute respect, saying, hey, we spend a lot of time on the roads getting to and from with our children, or as parents trying to get home to our families, and potentially the cost, the added maintenance and the wear and tear on the roads and the vehicles, that cost to the individual, the financial cost, the human cost, the health cost, the mental health cost, the physical health cost of leaving work and 2-3 hours later you're home, or leaving home and 2-3 hours later you're at work. Well, let's take this call. Hey, good afternoon and welcome, and thanks for the call.
Yeah, I was just listening there, and I heard the doctor call in with that, what do you call it, narrative, very important narrative that he presented. And I hope that maybe some cognizance will be taken of some suggestions that he made, because I think there were many valuable suggestions that he put on the floor there on the table. In the immediate, help to alleviate some of what, especially the travelers going east is experiencing. So I don't know who's listening, but I think they should look at what he was suggesting and see what could be called out of it that would make a difference. Especially, I guess, in the afternoon, evening traffic going east, and what I've been told also in the morning. So, for the last, let's see, 70, for the last 60 years, in the U.S., they've been building, trying to stay ahead of this traffic curve. And they're still probably 10, 15 years behind what they need at this point. So I don't think that the bill will gain a heck of a lot unless there are some steps taken to more or less balance things out. I mean, some of the highways. I just talked about I mentioned the Dade County area.
Yeah.
Started out with 2 lanes, 1 lane. Now some of them up to 5, but it's still packed. and more. So, I guess and the master ground transportation plan, do you have a copy of that?
I have a copy. I had a copy. As you were sharing, I'm trying to think, where is it in my shelf? Is it like a lot of the other government things that get shelved? But yeah, I did see it, and I think I do have a copy. Certainly, if I don't, I wouldn't mind seeing it again.
Yeah, well, maybe it ought to be pulled up and some strategic someone take a strategic look at it and see, because it was, I think, at the time a well thought out plan, and I think they were looking ahead 15, 20, 30 years as to what the situation might be. And even though if you go back to when that was created and look what has happened in between, I think you might say that the path forward has been distorted a bit. But still, there could be some valuable elements in that could be immediately injected into the situation.
At least something to a reference point, if nothing else. But what is interesting is that for some of us, as I gather from just current discussions, are a bit surprised that the road corridors that were proposed were not reserved in law. So presumably, and we do know just from general discussion, and much of it was conjecture and accusations and all sorts of things. Road corridor was here, but this development was allowed to use the words of the day, encroach on that area, but they were not, from what I understand, reserved in law, preserved in law. They were just considerations. So have we done ourselves a disservice if that's the case?
Yeah, well, I believe a section in the corridor coming into West Bay, let's say in between Cayman Bay and what you would say, and the dark beach complex there. But yeah, that was a proposal. But I think eventually it was not included in whatever legal requirements there was, and they had to go back and negotiate that all over.
Right.
Because one of the properties built their tennis courts on the what is now the road.
Yeah.
And I guess the property people was considerate and understood what was needed, and gave up their tennis court, and of course the road was able to be completed. But it was held up for quite a while because of that same element.
And I think this is where perhaps as a country and the people who live and work here, who vote, who call it home, who have a vested interest, is it that we need to look more holistically, more collectively, more unselfishly at what is it that we're doing. And I don't mean this to offend any politician, current or planning, to contest a seat in the future, but do we need 30-story buildings? Do we consider 100-story buildings? Do we need to do what Ms. Consuelo said one time on Open Line? Bump it over and build it back. People may have taken her words out of context, may have thought she was being just, her flavorful, colorful, wonderful self. But was there merit in what she said? Take the public beach and the way the buildings are increasingly there, and the beaches are eroding. Is the answer to just leave them, let it happen?
The word development plan has been pushed around
Mm-hmm.
the community for, I don't know, the last 67, probably 80 years. Right? It probably goes far back as when they built the town halls, and even when they built the town hall in West Bay,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't around, really. I guess I was, but I don't remember.
You probably got ready to make a kite. You was young, huh?
Yeah, it was a very controversial project.
Yeah.
But look at it now, and the value of having it there, because the community apparently wanted it put right at the junction of what's now Reverend Blackman Road and Mount Pleasant Road or Church Street or whatever, actually where the police station is.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the commissioner at that said, no, you got to look ahead. You got to think about what's happening. And he said, we want to put it, where it stands now, which is now the library. Right.
But that's a good point, and I do respect your time and the break. But just two things, right? Look at, from the Hansards of the Legislative Assembly, the notion that when there was a discussion, back then with the restroom and to construct, somewhat the school, somewhat the jail or a police station or the like, and the decision was taken to invest in something else other than the school. Fast forward to, the mid-90s when the present primary school hall was constructed. From what we understand, not just from the records but from those involved, that the building even before it was started was already considered to be too small. And when they had the official opening, all of those who wanted to attend and invited couldn't find space. So are we not being visionary enough? Are we not looking at things, as you just said, sufficiently down the road?
Well, I think, looking forward far enough that you don't get caught in a jam. Anyway,
Yes, sir. I'll let you go. Thank you, though. Right. And, I appreciate the gentleman's perspective. I think we all recognize and respect him for who he is. But like all of you, your thoughts matter, so please share with us. We're going to pause, take a break, go to the news, come back, and, talk to Dr. Shari, and then, if the schedule goes the way it is, then we'll have that. If it goes as I expected, there'll be open line. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Follow Radio K-Man on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio K-Man.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. The Ministry and Department of Tourism, in partnership with Aquila, are offering free virtual workshops on enhancing customer service for those in the tourism industry. To register for one of the sessions, please visit aquila.ourkman.ky. In international news, dozens of missiles are launched at targets across Ukraine as Russia faces stinging condemnation at the G20 summit in Bali, Indonesia. The Ukrainian president's office says the situation across the country is critical. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says Russia is waging a barbaric war and that it should get out of Ukraine. A draft G20 declaration says most members strongly condemn the war in Ukraine and that it is exacerbating fragilities in the global economy. The Dutch government is banning the use of nitrous oxide, commonly known as laughing gas, amid concerns over the health risks for the growing number of young people using it. The ban, which starts in January, makes it illegal to buy, sell, or own the gas. However, the authorities say it can still be used for medicinal purposes and in the food industry. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio K-Man on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio K-Man app or log on to our website, radiokman.gov.ky.
Radio K-Man is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Born in Watering Place, Cayman-Brac, on the 8th day of July, 1936, Captain Fred Elman Scott was the fifth child born to Nalio and Vera Scott. Not only did Captain Scott work the seas for over 52 years, but he was mathematically inclined. In the early 70s, Captain Scott received his first calculator, eventually moving on to computers. After retiring from sea, Captain Scott used his knowledge of navigation, his love for mathematics, and general knowledge to write various computer programs that would impact the lives of the people of the Cayman Islands, such as payroll calculation and a program that could tell the depths at any point of the Georgetown Harbor, which would allow him to give any ship in port the coordinates to drop anchor. However, his pride and joy was his weather program that could detect when a storm formed anywhere in the world and was able to track and forecast its path. To create this program, he first drew the world map by using actual coordinates from the various coastlines around the world, including the most minute coves. This information would be transmitted by his shipping mates from around the world, making him the local reliable source on storm predictions.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling DWAYNE EBANKS.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. We will get into the discussion of public transport and roads, and I will be absolutely mindful that despite the great intellect that I have before me, the eloquence, the absolute love and commitment that she has for our country as exhibited by her involvement in her students, Dr. Shari Smith would be, a great conversationist and would be a great opportunity, but for the positions we occupy. So we won't get into anything socio.
Are you putting out front that you're not going to get me in trouble today?
How about this? I may,
okay,
but it will not be your fault.
Okay.
There you go.
Bring it on, Dwayne.
Bring it on. I like that. and I say that, consciously as I was thinking, because something that you have done, and I'm hoping that I too will follow in your footsteps, because I've procrastinated. I've always said, I studied this a little bit, studied that a little bit, and I should put it into something so that at the end of the day, I get a little bit more bits and pieces of paper that I can, put somewhere in a drawer, because I don't look at them, right? But it means something to somebody, especially when we evaluating people, huh?
It means something to you as well.
Yeah, well,
because I can't take it away from you. The paper can, disappear. Yes, you can put it in a drawer, but hopefully the information that you have
Thank you
obtained.
for saying that, because my mom always says to every single one of us, she points to her head and she says, get it up here, nobody can take it from you.
Exactly.
So that piece of paper,
yes,
and she'll remind us that probably come a time, when you need that piece of paper to pull bush. I don't know about another district, but in West Bay,
you need a piece of paper.
Yeah, and that is why I wanted to say publicly that you inspire. You have done all your studies. You've culminated into your, I guess it's called, in academic terms, doctorate. Right? And I know that there are, many types, but yours is not the PhD. It's the PsyD, is it?
PsyD, yes. Well, we work harder. I don't get myself in trouble.
Yeah, go ahead.
We work harder than the PhDs because we actually do research and we have to do practical. So we do double work, but not negating the PhDs out there. We all work really hard. So
and if it's okay, and I'll be mindful, because I don't want this to sound anything different than what it is. But earlier there was a bunch of young students, and I'm trying to say to them, get your piece of paper, get it into something that you like, that you think can parlay into satisfaction, not just money. And now that you're thinking of, well, which subjects am I going to take, when, this is December, school term's going to finish.
Right.
When next year you're going to take your subjects.
Right.
Or when you're graduating next year and you're going off to university. Or for some.
Yeah.
They're finishing their undergrad and they're thinking of their masters. Now, it's costly.
Yes.
Financially, it's costly. Well, you've been there, I've
Mentally,
been there.
emotionally.
Everything. And
everything.
And the one sort of caveat that may sound political is that I've always said, and until I corrected otherwise, the two pillars: strong education system, strong healthcare system. Your people are healthy, they're educated, they bring to the table a lot.
Exactly.
And as I said to these students, I've done lots of studies, and Miss Norma said, well, I need you to see what you're doing. I'm like, really? Why? Because to me, that's showing off.
Right.
Right? To me, if I have that knowledge, at least I'm mindful that little learning is a dangerous thing.
Yes.
And it only makes me know that I don't know what I don't know. And back to you, back to our scholarship. If we can find money and we invest and we ensure that the people that we've invested in come back and can contribute, not just through employment, but through mentoring, through service,
all this stuff,
all the good things, right? So I'd say that at the outset, when you come on, as an attempt to suggest that you'll be offered up a scholarship. So you have your paper, can you present a scholarship? There you go.
See, it's a thick one, so that means you have to go to school for a long time.
It's an honorary scholarship. If you get an honorary degree, honorary scholarship.
There you go.
But we make, relatively speaking, education accessible.
Very.
And there's good funding, public and private, family and otherwise. There are many of us who consciously go into debt, make a lot of sacrifice because we believe it's worth something.
Right.
And I would like for that to continue to be the mantra that we champion, education for all, the ethos that we inculcate, and for the handful of individuals, including, and you will chastise me if I'm, disrespectful in saying this, including the educators who have increasingly in the last few years said to students, why you want to go off to school and get an education for? Go through that debt. You don't need to, because that's kind of there's some words I would use.
Yes. Well, first of all, I guess as an educator, I mean my basis, my foundation is in education as a teacher, right? So I pray that no one, whether, and I mean no one, would say that to a person, to an individual, especially if you're in education, because like we just discussed, what you learn, and even if, I will say to students, and just for the audience out there, yes, it's November. Today is the first day of opening for the Overseas Scholarship Overseas application process. So it opened today, and it's open online at our portal, which is www.moescholarships.gov.ky until January the 31st. Right?
So from today to the 31st of January.
Today to the lots of time for individuals to get the scholarship completed. There is a checklist this year. We added a checklist, which is on the front page of, when you go on the portal, that tells you all the additional documents that you would need. So, again, definitely lots of useful information. We want to encourage people to please read the FAQs and
what does that for again?
Frequently asked questions.
FAQs, frequently asked questions.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, usually, we'll get 6 million calls, and we're like, that's point 2 on the FAQs. And the first thing that you're supposed to do, or the first task on the application, is confirming that you have read the FAQs. So technically, if you are completing the application and you've read the FAQs and then you send me an email asking me a question that's answered on the FAQs, are you being truthful on your application? But we won't clear.
I was just reading something someone was saying, but that's for another segment because I don't think that, all those directed to you. Don't just kidding.
That's a bring it on, right?
You did say that.
I did.
No, but the process and the and I'm glad that you said that, because unfortunately, and if you are a parent or you are an educator and you've heard this or said this, you can argue with me if you want. But check yourself. And I say that in light of there's a wonderful, she'll allow me to call her young because she's only a few years differential between my age and hers, right? Who has been mentoring some young girls, and one in particular, taking that young girl and from the little I know, got her to appreciate, hey, you're smart, you have self-worth, you're somebody, you can be a doctor, an educator, you can do anything.
Unlimited.
It just needs to be nurtured.
Yes.
And to invest in our young people like that.
Yes.
And to help them to navigate even as professionals, we could use,
guidance.
I love that word.
Guidance.
And the FAQs are there to help us to appreciate
Security
it.
guidance. Yeah.
The process can be, for some of us a little frustrating because we don't look at what it is. But we're talking overseas scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
So at the outset, I wanted to ask, and this was one of the questions. Even though we would still be here doing it, remotely online,
mm-hmm.
but it's at an institution that is not on island,
mm-hmm.
that is still considered overseas.
Yes.
And then, by extension, the scholarships were either if you're attending in person,
mm-hmm.
or whether you're sometimes there, sometimes here, or it's all in that online portal.
So we have, yes. So right now we're only dealing with overseas applications. So
Mm-hmm.
as you just said, if the institution is established outside of the Cayman Islands, this is the time that you would put in for your application. And it is for funding for September 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the process is you complete the application, which closes on January 31st. And then as of January 31st, we begin the review process. We go through interviews. Persons who are just getting ready to leave high school would be then getting their final, doing their final exams and so forth. And so by mid-May, then we're, and then awarding those individuals who have met the criteria. And then, of course, if you have external exams, we have to wait till they come in. And it's been fun with things getting pushed back, but we've made it work.
Mm-hmm.
If you are going off to university for the first time, we try our really best, and council does have a requirement or a stipulation that states that undergraduate degrees need to be completed on campus, right? Obviously, we are still living in a world of COVID. Some universities are still doing online programs for their undergrads for the first year. So that is a conversation that we would have later on once you've kind of finalized where does you want to go.
Yeah.
My advice to individuals who are interested is to put in your application. Right?
Yeah.
Put it in, because if you put in the application, then you have a chance to, be considered for the scholarship. And you don't have to make your final decision until, next year, June, July, right? If you don't put in an application, then it makes it really, really difficult and really complicated in regards to if at the last minute you decide, oh, no, I do want to go, right?
So it's kind of going fishing. If you want to catch fish, you got to put your line in the water.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't, you can put in an application and then, life happens. We all know that, right? And so something may happen, a decision, or you decide to, for whatever reasons, you're not going to go off to school right now. That's fine. Your application can be put on hold. We can defer your application for up to a year. So again, the work is not wasted. So it's better to do that, right?
Okay.
For post-grad persons, and this probably goes to the question that you got asked.
Yeah.
So if you're on campus, the scholarship funds are provided to cover your tuition costs, your accommodation costs, your books, fees associated with with living overseas and studying overseas. If you are here online, which are usually our post-grad persons, the funds are currently specific for tuition costs and books. There are no accommodations that are put or in the mix for post-grad if you are fully online, because it is, I guess the assumption is that you are here in Cayman, you've already got accommodations, you're most likely working a full-time job as well, and so forth. So, but again, put the application in, start the process, put the application in, complete before the deadline. That allows us to have a conversation, and like your case may be particular, and so then the conversation goes in a different direction.
And let's say, so it is to start September 2023.
Yes.
Or August or October, depending on when your school starts.
So UK schools will start towards the end of September, October. Yeah. Usually US, Canada schools start a bit earlier, so usually early August.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that, I call it
that
the fall.
Yes,
yeah.
the fall time.
And if you know, just an argument's sake, you know that for whatever reason you want to start in January 2024, for whatever reason, maybe it's a calendar year that your program is, or whichever, or it's just convenient for you for your work or whatever it is, then
put it in now.
Put it in now,
yes.
And you say, listen, this is what I'm doing. Here is whatever I need, but I'd be looking to start in January 2024 as opposed to August, September, October, or 23. Yep. So get it in now.
Get it in now, because then that way you will be captured in all of the review process and the interviewing process that we will be doing early next year. And then, once you have your final grades and stuff and everything is finalized, then if you're like, well, I'm not starting until 2024, we just kind of put you on hold. And
all right. Can I ask of you, and we are talking to, Dr. Shari Smith, Scholarship Secretariat.
Yes.
I'll let you share the title because I want to give you a promotion, right? But
I'm the manager of the Scholarship Secretariat, the most amazing unit
it is.
In government, and have amazing ladies that are working in there.
You have a great team. I mean, I'm not going to call them all, but Miss Elaine, for instance, sometimes I can only imagine that we, applicants, parents, the students, everybody, sometimes the questions we ask may seem simple, but you have a formula, you have a way you do things, right?
Yes.
Just we need to. So thank you all for what it's worth. Honestly.
Yes. Now all the ladies are quite knowledgeable, very helpful, and we have a wide range of persons who have. Between having their own children and going through the process, as Miss Elaine and Miss Dresden and Miss Maria,
all of them,
and myself,
and
and then others who have actually, and you, others who have actually gone through the process. So Miss Stephanie, office assistant, Miss Davina is also now studying. And of course Dr. Nicole, who's also studying. So we have a good combination. So, don't, if you have a question, no question is silly. Trust me, we probably heard everything under the moon, sun, and then stars and some. So, don't sit there and wonder or go and ask so-and-so who might say so-and-so and so-and-so. Email us at scholarships.gov.ky or give us a call at 244-2482 and just talk to us, and we will help you walk you through the process.
So I want to ask, and I have permission to sort of share everything but, sort of particulars that would identify, let's say, but
names to be protected.
Yeah, we were talking, and these are all adults. Some with children that are still in school, some with grown children, and the like. And all but one had the view that I want to be there to help the child to navigate the college sort of admission process, whether that's here, whether that's studying in accounting or electronics, or doesn't matter. The other parents took the view, great, stay here, but give the child a chance to, sort of wade into the water initially. You'll be surprised. And I was listening to the back and forth. The lady that I referenced said, listen, you don't always know what the child is capable of, but if the child has confidence in you that you provide a safe, nurturing environment, and before you hit send or click, finish, you're there to kind of, review, check. And I came away from that saying, we'll be surprised what our children can do. Now, I'm glad that when that unfolded for our household, I didn't have to.
you and I just got called when it was our part to fill out.
And here's the the form or the payment mechanism that you use, because I didn't. I'm involved in informed parent, but if you can't do this, and if you demonstrate that you can, that gives me more confidence that you can get on the bus and get the offer you're supposed to. Someone understand what I mean? So. Give our children the opportunity to know that we're there for them, but you will be surprised how independent, how intelligent, right, and how truly involved they are in this thing, and they take ownership. Would you say that?
I would definitely agree with that, and that leads nicely into one of the pointers when I left. Before I left, I asked my staff, what are things that you want me to cover and remind people. So one major thing is that our new platform that we have is linked to eGov services. So when you create, don't laugh at me.
So I'm not laughing at you.
You're laughing with us.
Yeah, I'm expressing Animated responses to you.
Okay. So when you create your application on eGov, it is linked to, the eGov's national connection to different services, right?
Interoperability.
Yes. So it is very, very important. Very important. No matter how many times I've said this. And it's in big, bright yellow highlighting on our portal page. All applications need to be completed in the applicant's name. Okay, because that is how we then track the person. So if Dwayne decided to put in an application for his daughter, and he put Dwayne Sterling.
No, I'll pop up with Sterling Dwayne, but
yeah. Sterling Dwayne.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Forgive me.
In honor of beloved Mr. Dolan.
Okay, so Sterling Dwayne pops up, right? And then I start reviewing, and I see that, oh, wait. All this information is for, for Shari Georgina. Why is the name in? And then we can't change that. So then you have to go in. You have to contact eGov. You have to recreate the whole application, basically all over. So I'm asking parents, because I don't say it unless I've experienced it. And trust me, we have experienced it more than once. Parents who are, already determined to create these applications for their children, please make sure it is in their children's name. Please make sure you're using an email address that they have access to. We ask students when they're creating their email account to use, if you don't have a professional like a Gmail or a Hotmail or a Yahoo or whatever site, create one. It's very easy to create a Gmail account, because what happens is a lot of students will use their high school email, and when you graduate next year,
that portal's gone.
That's gone, right? And then it's a bit more complicated. Then again, now we've got to try and change the emails and system. So from the get-go, go ahead, make sure if Shari is applying for that scholarship, that Shari's name is on the application,
as the applicant.
Okay. And it's her account along with her
email.
So
that brings us, and I can honestly share with people that Dr. Shari and I didn't converse. She wasn't privy to the discussion earlier. That shares nicely into those group of parents earlier that were chatting. And one said, but as parent, you will always be loving, nurturing, protecting provider. Doesn't matter, whichever. And this one parent expressed, I'll use the word because it wasn't evident, but I could sense that, there was a diplomacy, a bit of frustration, The child is now under the age of majority, will at some point be 18, 19, and hopefully 119. Right. And the parent will be there celebrating along, praise God. And said, is there a way so that when information is shared, for two reasons, you want to be involved and engaged, right? But for two reasons, you're still that person for whom the child is dependent on for health insurance and for other things, for whom no matter what your scholarship funds are, there's going to be a shortfall. Right.
So you have to have that conversation with the parent.
Yeah, there's going to be a shortfall. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, the application process, it should be a partnership between the student applicant and the parent, because just as you said, what happens if, right? You have to have that conversation. We have had several conversations over the last, this recent year, with students who have found themselves in those what if situations. And, I have had to say, remember when we did the interview and we had a conversation, because one of the questions is, what other financial arrangements have you made? Because depending on where you're going, especially if you go to the U.S. where tuition costs are extremely high, you're going to have that need additional funding. Even if you go to Canada or UK, Canada, I know I've been seeing some tuition costs coming in recently, and they're
expensive.
Very expensive.
Even with exchange rate, good education, but it's not.
Yes. So you have to have a plan B as well, right? That's important. So parents need to be involved in the process. What we're encouraging the parents to do is, have it as a partnership. Have a discussion about what they want to study. At this point, one of the things that I really encourage people to do is opportunities for internship. So if parents have networks that they can get opportunities for internships for their student to really understand what it's like in what they're interested in here locally, because again, you're interviewed by professionals in the field locally, and they're going to ask you some hardcore questions, right? I mean, I've sat in on some of the interviews, and I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm not going for this subject, because and in all fairness, I mean, the persons we have they've done it, they've gone through the process, so they know what challenges and walls are going to come up, and so they want to see that the students have done their research, that they understand what it's going to be like when they come back and how they're going to fit in. And so opportunities for them to get that filled out. The other thing I would suggest as well, where we've seen things kind of popping up, are more with our students, like in A-level programs that can pick and choose. And I understand, you don't want to stress too much out in your last semester. I mean, to be honest, in my high school years, way back, I think I took like 4 courses in my last year because I was like at the credit limit and good to go. But
I did the other thing.
You took a whole bunch of stuff, right? But what we're finding is that students who kind of, you might take an art and then a business course and then a sports or something, right? Not to say anything, negative with any of those.
Not at all.
But then you decide you want to go into medicine, right? When you are being interviewed with the panel, they're going to ask you questions. Well, why did you choose such and such, or what's your thoughts? So making sure that you, even if your subjects don't necessarily go towards the area you want to study, make sure that you get experience so that you can you know what you're getting into, because we really don't want young people to you go and you invest a whole year off at university, and then you go, man, this is nothing like what I thought this was going to be. Right? So give yourself that if those opportunities can be presented, it really helps in the long run for getting where you need to be.
I'm always mindful that you have a lot to go back to once you leave the public presentation, but you're always so amenable with your time.
Yes.
So when we come back from the break, maybe take us through a little bit more about the application process. And I'm hoping as parents in particular, as we're listening, that we can go and share with our children, this process. Take away what may seem like a very daunting, taxing thing, and understand that if we start now, we got to the end of January next year. That seems like a long time. It isn't.
I don't know how we're at November 15th.
Yeah, it isn't. And a friend of mine, we were sitting and he looked at me and said, "You didn't shave this morning either?" I said, "No, consciously." And he looked at his, he said, "I shaved at this point in time yesterday," and he looked like, he was somewhere in the wilderness. Why I say is that,
it flies.
In hours, things transpire, so don't think that you have months.
Yeah.
All right, we want to come back. I want to take us through the process some more.
Definitely.
We can open the phone lines up if people have a question. And yes, the preferred gift and treat is chocolate. That's one of the FAQs, I think. So you can, all right, 949-837 or 949-6990. Toll free with the compliments of Flo, 1-800-534-8255. If you have a question, we're talking about scholarships for overseas, the application process, but we will give you a very, very almost exhaustive, you may find it exhausting, but, approach and information. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Members of the public are reminded that the Seafarers Awards ceremony will be taking place this afternoon, 4 p.m. at the Allen McLaughlin Civic Center in East End.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist, or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
Pirates Fest. A little bit of old, a little bit of new. The evolution of Cayman's Pirates. A little bit of fun for everyone. Grand Cayman festivities from November 10th through the 20th. 10 days, 33 events. From happy hour parties, cardboard boat races, the trial of the pirates, float parade, national song competition, pooch parades, races, fireworks. So many fireworks. Pirates Fest is here. 33 events, 10 days, November 10th through the 20th. Stay in the know. Get the full event lineup at piratesfestcayman.com.
Fire, raging through Church Street, bright and little Cayman.
It's Tuesday, and you know what that means? It's 2-for-1 Taco Tuesdays, and it's happening all day long at Tuca Restaurant and Bar in East End and West Bay. Who doesn't love tacos, especially when they're 2 for 1? Featuring specialty tacos like peanut chicken, blackened fish, pulled pork, vegetarian and coconut shrimp, and of course, all your favorites. Enjoy 2-for-1 tacos and 2-for-1 margaritas every Tuesday at Tuca Restaurant and Bar all day long in East End and West Bay.
A month of Sundays means a very long time. What is a week of Black Fridays? It is 8 days of super savings at A.L. Thompson's beginning Friday, November 18th at 6 a.m. During Black Friday week, you can take advantage of deep discounts on electronics, appliances, home decor, and tools. We invite you to review 8 pages of products in the Black Friday week flyer on althompson.com and to shop at your convenience at A.L. Thompson's, Georgetown.
It's that time of the year again when our spelling bees are buzzing around with activity. Join us at the John Gray High School Performing Arts Hall on Tuesday, November 29th to show your support for our best young spellers during the RBC Royal Bank's primary spelling bee competition. The spell-off begins at 10 a.m. Don't be late. Brought to you by the Department of Education Services and RBC Royal Bank.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling DWAYNE EBANKS.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks to Dr. Shari Smith, the manager over the Scholarships Secretariat, and to her and a phenomenal team that is there. Scholarships for overseas open today, close on the 31st of January. And I'm not going to say next year because then you would think that's a long ways away.
No way. Nope.
All right. And that applies. I just want to recap to make sure I understood what you were saying, Dr. Shari.
Yeah.
Applies to whether you are physically off island at an institution or whether you're doing it online.
Mm-hmm.
Now, open university, distance learning, all sorts of terms. But
stuff.
you're physically here,
Mm-hmm.
but the degree and the program of study is at an institution that's not here.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you're doing online, full-time online programs such as, we've got Walden University, a lot of our post-grad persons do, or I can't think of some of the other ones, but yeah. Or if you're going to a campus. Now, the one exception that we've made a slight change this year is in persons who are interested in going into the medical field and want to attend St. Matthew's University, which is the medical school locally located here in Cayman.
Physically here.
But is obviously linked with overseas entity. We are encouraging, or we're requiring persons who are interested in going to St. Matthew's to apply within this application period, because that one will allow them to also be a part of the whole interview processing and so forth, rather than waiting till next year. March is when the locals was. So St. Matthew's is considered a part of the overseas scholarship,
even though
it's physically here. Yes.
And then I think we may have said something earlier. Let's look at a message that talked about those undergrad. They have to be physically on campus in the.
Most of the programs now have gone back to campus, but like I said, there are exceptions that are made for a person to want to do online undergraduate program. Right? Okay. So, but the crux of it is that you need to apply. So apply, put it in, so that we can have a conversation in regards to, what it is that you want to do.
Okay, and looking at this message, we were referencing the bachelor's to undergrad.
Right.
So anybody doing masters and above. I should have looked at this a little closer, but I gathered they're asking you can get a scholarship for the masters and above to be physical here through the online portal or in residence somewhere.
Some master's programs or post-grad programs are online, so you can be working full-time and studying online, or they actually are on campus programs.
Okay. Awesome. So that would be, and I think as I read it, I think the person may have wondered if only you're doing online for masters. No. So you can be physically here, or you can go overseas, on campus, wherever that is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because some degrees you have to be on campus to, especially if you're studying, the sciences and the medicines and stuff like that. They want you to be there.
There are some people for whom being in that sort of academic environment away from, I don't want to call it the distractions, but the commitments of life that is other than what a student should be engaged in, may find it to be a little bit more involved. They can focus as well.
Well, I also encourage, you can't take away from the opportunity and experiences of different environments, right? And I always, encourage students to, go and try. If you find that it is definitely not for you, because it's not, living overseas is not for everyone, then let's have that conversation. If they have opportunity, travel is opened up pretty much. If you have an opportunity within this year to go and visit universities, so you can actually get a feel for what it's like to be on that campus. Is it someplace that you're going to feel safe? How far, you have to travel? Are you comfortable with that? If you're going, to the UK where public transportation is a huge thing, are you comfortable monitoring that? So, you still have some time, hopefully, to be able to access some of those things to help make your decision a bit more final when it comes that time next year.
Okay, Dr. Scheuer, I do respect the time. One quick question from this listener was asking about it and wants to know two things. One, is there an application fee?
Okay.
And what are some of the things in particular when it comes to immigration and health? What are the requirements there?
Okay. So there's no application fee to apply for a scholarship. And the scholarship is completed fully online on our online portal, www.moescholarships.gov.ky. Some of the things that, like I said, there is a checklist that's on the first page of the portal that you can click on to download. But some of the things that obviously would be like your one that I know, DWAYNE, we are not going to go into that, but you know which one I'm going to say. Your right to be Caymanian certification or confirmation letter. You really need to have that. I know that immigration has been really, really backed up. So it's really important that if it's something that you do not have, then you want to start that process now and trying to get that. The other thing that I want to encourage persons to do, especially those who are contemplating going to the UK, is to please now start the process, if you haven't already, to get a British passport.
Thanks to reconsider going back.
To get a British passport, because if you what we have been finding, even though we are a recognized British territory, and the UK office has been really brilliant in providing support, Dr. Tasha and her team, but universities, obviously, it is still up to their discretion whether they want to give you access to home fees versus international fees. And right now, home fees are capped at, I think it's like £9,000 and something. If you go in on your Cayman passport, you're going to be required to get a student visa. You will be charged international scholarship, international student fees, which can be £14,000 and up. You will also have to pay for health insurance up front, which ranges between £1,200 to £1,500.
So you can double the cost sometimes.
So you're doubling the cost. So please, if you don't have a British passport, go ahead and start that application process, because they too are also very much backed up. Do not wait till January to start that process, because we saw students having to delay going off to university because they just couldn't get their passport back in time, and they had submitted their stuff from like in March and April.
So the portal, you go on, you complete it, you can do it in stages.
Yes.
And sometimes, you can come back and upload something or...
Always can go back and upload. You can make as much changes. There's no order, so you can go on, create your app, create your account, go on, have a look. There's some things that you should be able to just, I have this, my birth certificate already, or I have, take a selfie and upload my picture. The information about the universities, that's stuff that you can go on the university's website, download and upload that information and stuff like that.
Okay. Dr. Shari, someone is they tried to go on the website. Is it MOE?
moescholarships.gov.ky.
Okay, maybe they left off the S.
Yes, there's an S at scholarship.
Okay,
at the end of
scholarships.
Yes.
Okay, maybe they said they were trying to access the website and couldn't get on. So, please check to make sure you've typed in the correct .ky. MOE scholarships.gov.ky. .gov.ky. Okay. All right. I'm glad people are listening, and so just check it out and navigate it. All right. There we go. All right. What else you want to share with us, Mom?
There is, let's see, what other changes have we made? We have made a change that there is no means testing information that's required. The only thing that is required is that the parent will have to provide a job letter that obviously substances their salary, their financial means. Other than that, it's usually, your high school, your transcripts, and this is for kids coming out of high school, so their transcripts and, research them, the university and stuff. So, if you are a mature student, like, Mr. Sterling keeps saying he's going to do,
for how long?
Exactly. It may be a bit more difficult for you to get your high school transcript, I even might have taken a couple of papers.
My high school doesn't exist anymore.
There you go. So what we would look at physically.
It's true.
So what you would then supply is then, there is a section to put in information in terms of work experience and, why you're interested in what you want to study and so forth. The other thing that I would want to encourage persons to make sure that they spend time to do is their personal statement, which explains, why you want to study the particular degree that you're putting in for, who you are, so you're introducing yourself to the scholarship panel and the council. That's very, very important to spend time, please don't just write, I deserve a scholarship because I am Caymanian. Yes, scholarships are awarded for persons who are Caymanian or have established the right to be Caymanian, but we want to know that you want to have, that you're interested in something else as well, like because the Cayman Islands government has done a lot to ensure that we have the finances to provide these opportunities. I do not think you can go to any other country in the world and have this, I get asked all the time, well, how many scholarships do you have? And I said, I can proudly say that regardless of the government that was of the day, we have never had to turn scholarships down because we didn't have funds. They've always found funds to ensure that our people can be educated.
And that is, for me, the important part of us investing in that. And I commend the country, public sector in particular, from the civil service to the political directorate, and trying to find, but mindfully and as respectfully, but as deliberately, we as a populace, to use it to our good advantage, to take up studies and come back and make a contribution to our country. And anything can be invaluable if done with the right purpose. So you have an interest in studying something, it could be perhaps one of the most important, like an educator.
Right.
But you may decide, you know what, I wouldn't mind, being a blogger to talk about social issues. Hey, there is a role, if done responsibly, respectfully, that can benefit us.
I mean, you would be amazed. I was just saying to someone the other day, is 2 years ago maybe, we had students who were applying for environmental designs and environmental, architecture, and I was like, what is this, and they started explaining, in their interviews they would explain, saying, we're looking at how the environment, the built environment, impacts the individuals who work in that environment, or how is our construction impacting our environment, surroundings. And fast forward 3 years, we have, we've just had another, I think, 2 individuals who went off to, a youth summit where they're talking about, I think I saw a post today with the Prime Minister of Barbados, Honorable Maya, having a meeting with the young people in regards to the impact of climate change, right? So something 3 years ago, which we would kind of like, how is this going to apply? Now look where we are. Like, these young people are they have their work cut out for them when they finish.
Yeah, we messing up really big time.
Yeah, we really did a job for them. So
there you go. Well, I'm mindful of the time. I want you to share with us as we get ready into the break, and then welcome our guest on HSC. What else do you want to share with the listeners with the application process? We know it opens today, closes on the 31st of January.
Opens today, closes on the 31st of January. Please do not upload blank documents. Everything that we are asking for should be able to be obtained within the time span that we're open. We do not expect persons to have full acceptance into a university, but you need to show that you've communicated with the university. So, you showed interest. And usually that's just, you go on their website and say, hi, I'm interested in applying, and you get an email back and so forth. Reminding persons that we know that this last application period that there were some waivers that were made. Those were temporary waivers. So the SAT or ACT, the GPA, those are still requirements for the scholarship. So we want to please encourage persons who have to, take those particular tests to make sure they make arrangements to take the tests. Remember that you can take the test more than once. We do super score the scores to see, if you're meeting the requirements. So the SAT, I think it's 1100. And, just start the process, go through it, make sure that, if you have a question, that you've given yourself time to send an email to us to ask for clarification, or call into the office for clarification. It's not, we've tried to make it as user-friendly as possible. And so, just jump in and go for it,
Well, I'll share with you this last comment from one of our listeners, and let me see how best to basically use your word. I was a mature student when applying and so on, and found it intimidating because of navigating.
Right.
Was going to be studying online initially because that was a convenience of managing family life and work and the like. But found the support to the secretariat helpful, and then eventually got into the groove. I would say to the the mature students, give it a go.
Yeah. Yes.
So to me that makes sense.
Yes. And I mean, like I said, if you call us and you're really struggling, even if you're struggling and you don't have the means to maybe scan in a document, again, don't wait till the last minute. Give us a call, and we will try our best to walk you through, or provide you with support in terms of how to do it, or if we make arrangements to try and figure out a way to get you to scan up those documents. But we're here to help. All of the ladies are very, very knowledgeable in the application process, and so But if we don't know, we can't help. So.
Well, we're here to help you get your message out. And if it's be of value to parents, if you have a question you're not quite sure, it's answered in FAQs, go through that first. If you think we can help to pass them along, we will.
Yes.
I commend you, the team, and governments to date, elected and appointed, for their continued investment. And as a people, that's what builds us.
Yep. And I would ask the listening audience also to, everybody's on social media,
whether you want to be or not,
whether you want to be or not, to just keep an eye out on the Ministry of Education's website, because when we do have any updates and stuff, they're usually put through the ministry's social media, as well as we will be having some kind of webinars to help walk people through the process as well, and we'll try to do them at different hours to accommodate persons who have different work schedules, as well as we will be visiting the schools. So parents, please make sure that your students attend the meetings when the Secretariat is there to help guide them through this process.
So all overseas scholarships, this is your time to apply.
This is your time.
The website again?
www.moescholarships with an s.gov.ky.
Yeah, so you put that .gov.ky.
Yes.
Sometimes we forget to put one of the other.
And if you can't find it from that, you can also go to eGov there and type in, I think, scholarships in their search, and it'll pull up our page as well, as well as the Ministry of Education.
All right. Well, I certainly appreciate you sharing. And,
thank you for squeezing me in.
No. You're more. It's an honor, and I do recognize from the parents' perspective as well as from the students that this can be an exciting but daunting time. You want a child to go, but you don't want a child to go. You're worrying, well, even with a scholarship, to whatever extent it is, will you have money? But you'll get there. You won't be the first. There are many gone before.
Yes.
It is possible, but like anything, you have to start somewhere.
Yes, I've sat on all the chairs around around the table.
Yep.
From being the student applying to being the parent.
Yeah, man. It's important, and I'm glad that we see the value of that education. I hope and pray that we see the value of not just getting it, but then using it to the betterment of our country.
Yes, definitely.
So, and you again, if you'd allow me, she's not here, but she's be constant at one time. Dr. Alexandra Borden, another strong academic, but also very civic engagement. Her commitment to the community, her willingness to share her knowledge, her experience, her expertise.
Definitely.
I think it serves as an example. It encourages us.
Yes.
And it just shows what you can do if you have the opportunity and you take make the most of it. So thanks very much, Dr. Shari.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So www.moescholarships with s.gov.ky. After hours, call 9 for a skin. Go online. It's all done electronically these days. May I invite you to enjoy the rest of the week. May be safe and productive. You and the team and to all of us. Thank you so much, Mom.
Thank you.
All right, let's pause. After the news, our good folks from the HSA, in particular the pharmacist, Ms. Winston Prendergrass, will be our guest. Stay tuned. Ms. Winston Jefferson. Stay tuned. Talk today.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office. Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
Pirates Fest! Pirates Fest, Pirates Fest, Pirates Fest 2022. 3 cheers for 3 islands.
Hello, Cayman Islands. This is Carly Davis. Come and enjoy an evening of thanksgiving and praise at Cayman Gospel Fest on Saturday, November 19th at the Lions Center. Come see Cayman's best performers and church choirs. My band and I will be there. Admission is free. See you Saturday, November 19th at the Lions Center with Cayman Gospel Fest. You cannot afford to miss it. Yes, come out and let's have fun together.
Brought to you by the Progressives, celebrating 20 years of service to the Cayman Islands.
The Department of Environmental Health would like to advise Georgetown residents to get their bulk waste ready for collection from November 14th to the 19th. Household appliances, furniture, and other items too large to be handled by the weekly DEH collection crews should be placed by the roadside where it is easily accessible to DEH collection crews. Metals and vegetation should also be separated from other bulk items. Do not obstruct the roadway or storm drains or place tires, construction and demolition waste, hazardous materials, or electronics. For more information on the Georgetown bulk waste collection from November 14th to the 19th, please contact DEH's Solid Waste Management Section at 949-6696.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. The RCIPS has received reports that emails purporting to be from the RCIPS Criminal Records Office are circulating. These are actually fraudulent messages. These emails have been sent from an address ending at rcips.com, which is not a valid RCIPS email address. In international news, crowds of residents in southern China's industrial metropolis Guangzhou have escaped a compulsory lockdown and clashed with police as anger at strict coronavirus curbs boiled over. Dramatic footage shows some overturning a police vehicle and tearing down COVID control barriers. Riot teams have now been deployed in the area. It follows Guangzhou's worst COVID outbreak since the pandemic began. Amid bad economic figures, China's zero COVID policy is under enormous strain. Human beings used fire to cook food hundreds of thousands of years earlier than previously thought, an Israeli-led group of researchers have suggested. They found evidence in the 780,000-year-old remains of a huge carp-like fish discovered in northern Israel. The previous earliest evidence of cooking dated from about 170,000 BC. Researchers studied crystals from the enamel of the remains of the 6.5-foot fish's teeth. The way the crystals had expanded was a sign that they had not been exposed to direct fire, but cooked at a lower temperature. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling DWAYNE EBANKS.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. And as much as we wish to entertain and provide other avenues of enjoyment, we like to educate, inform, involve, include, and ensure that as a people we are not only having timely, accurate information, but in a way that is palatable and hopefully allows us to retain it. Honored to continue the partnership now with the Health Services Authority, and welcome Ms. Winsome Jefferson at our studio. Now, you've been in our studio for a number of times. Right? How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's good to be here.
As much as I've probably made a mistake, so guide me directly.
Right. Okay. Right. So my name is Mrs. Winsome Jefferson. I'm a clinical diabetes pharmacist with the Health Services Authority, and I'm happy to be here.
You know, I just shared with you, I'm looking at something that someone sent through earlier, and I can't, for some reason, immediately, because I wanted to read it. It was something that we had said, but I'll get it, God's willing, before the day is out, as my mom would say. But you've been in the studio a number of times, and we mostly were talking about diabetes and how it's manageable, and how maybe for many of us, we sort of take not just the signs and symptoms, but the management and treatment for granted until it gets to a stage where, well, it can be dire. So I want you to help us to appreciate the importance of it and how we can do things to recognize the early onset, perhaps mitigate.
Right. I'm happy that you mentioned that as well, because that is the problem with diabetes. Because there's no obvious symptoms that is staring you in the face. You're not feeling a lot of pain, or you're not having palpitations. You know, a lot of persons have diabetes and they are not aware of it. Mm-hmm. And even persons who are diagnosed with diabetes, they take it very lightly. They say, "Oh, I just have a touch of sugar." You know, and they're not glaring signs, as I mentioned. And it's when the complications step in that, they run to the hospital. Like they start having pains, severe pains in their legs. Diabetic neuropathy has already set in.
I'm looking at the message, and this is not the exact one that I was looking for, but it as you said sugar, I was typing it in because I think that was how we referred to it. And I recall the gist of the message from the perspective of the words we use. And this writer was saying that, do we do ourselves, I'm paraphrasing, a disservice by referring to it as such, or got a touch of sugar, all right? And then we use other, perhaps more clinical terms, neuropathy and the like. If I recall what I thought the gist was of the sentiments, in presenting that information to the public, are we somehow, missing the audience? Because on one hand, we're seemingly just downplaying it, we have sugar. On the other hand, we take for granted that they may understand exactly the seriousness, the consequences, and by so ignoring how dire it can be, but also by being very proactive, we can actually maybe not only mitigate, but could we reverse, could we even prevent?
Okay. All right. Let me mention something that is very important. Okay. Yesterday, the 14th of November, was observed as World Diabetes Day. And they have chosen the theme, Education to Protect Tomorrow. Because there are lots and lots of myths out there concerning diabetes. And many persons in the public downplay it. And they're the ones who, speak about, oh, I just have a touch of sugar, and not taking it seriously. Now, one of my roles and my passion is really to educate persons that, hey, if you be proactive, if diabetes is in your family line, or you might be overweight or over a certain age, it's best to get screened. Knowledge is power. If you know that you have diabetes, there are certain things that you can do to control it, to prevent the complications, or even better still, if it is in your family line, you are high risk for diabetes, go and find out what your blood test shows, what are your numbers, so that you can prevent or delay getting diabetes.
Is it then that, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I think And I'll speak to this part of the world, as it were, how we use certain words and the like, and our parents and grandparents and their people would say, "Oh, touch of sugar," and like that was something sweet and nothing. Is it then that we don't also appreciate? You said know your numbers. What should our numbers be from a healthy perspective of the blood sugar level? What are those? What should they be?
Okay, there is a blood test that is done in the lab that is called the HbA1c. That is a blood test that tells persons what their sugars have been doing over the past 3 months, basically. If the number is 6.5% or more, that person is diabetic. And let me give you some ranges based on the American Diabetes Association.
Okay.
No diabetes at all, you're in the clear, is less than 5.7. Pre-diabetes, when you're borderline, is between 5.7 and 6.4. Diabetes is 6.5 and over. Now, I have been within 5.7 and 6.4 for the past 10 years. But I was very proactive in changing my lifestyle, diet and exercise, and I am still in the pre-diabetic range.
Yeah. And that's a percentage.
It's a percentage.
Okay. So, and I'm glad that you share that, because you have in the past, and it makes many of us encourage, but realize that it's manageable. It's something. So
the choices that you make a big difference.
Okay.
Let me mention some more numbers as well. Yeah. Because glucometers, which are the blood glucose monitors, those are very good tools to guide persons as to what is happening in their blood sugar, with their blood sugar levels at that particular moment. So a reading of between 80 and 130 as a fasting, that's first thing in the morning before eating any breakfast. That is within the normal range, between 80 and 130, right? 2 hours after eating, if it is between 80 and 180, based on the guidelines, that is within the normal range. But for somebody who is not diabetic, that range should really be between 80 and 145. But it should definitely not exceed 180.
And this is fasting.
And this is 2 hours after the meal.
Right.
Because after you eat food, after the food is digested and broken down to glucose and goes into the bloodstream, the blood sugar levels will get elevated. But the body will produce insulin that will facilitate the process of some of the sugar leaving the blood and getting into the muscles. And so the insulin will facilitate the process of the sugar being reduced to the normal levels.
And I think it's rare too, as you shared, that our lifestyle, the things we eat, our activity, can affect us. Can I share with you someone and hope they'll forgive me for quickly scanning it, but they're saying that if they eat certain things, they can tell the impact on them. This individual said that as a sort of an experiment on themselves. They took oranges and they took apples, for instance, and ate them whole. And then they took the gizmos that we have and they took and processed the orange juice, extracted it and drank it, and did the same with the apples. And found two things. One, with eating the actual fruit, they ate less, they felt satisfied longer, and didn't feel that impact than they did by taking the same orange juice and putting it in the extractor and having it. They needed a lot more juices, a lot more oranges to get the juice.
Right.
And then they saw that, wait a minute, I'm getting all of this, even when I'm processing supposedly, the whole thing.
So there's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
The big difference is that when you eat the fruit, you get the fiber.
Okay.
Right? And the fiber actually gives a feeling of fullness.
Okay.
It also reduces the rate at which the sugar, the fructose from the fruit gets into the bloodstream. Right? So fruits with fiber, it slows the rate of the digestion of it. And the foods with fiber, gives the fullness. You're having less sugar from the fruit as well. So that is actually, it's much healthier to actually eat the fruit and drink the water as opposed to the juices. Right?
Okay.
Fruits contain a sugar called fructose. And if you have several fruits, it is sweetness plus sweetness plus sweetness. And to get a glass of juice, even for the extractor, several fruits, even get a glass of juice.
And even then, because I'm glad I use that word, because we're familiar with some of these gadgets, gizmos, and I say I use the one, the extractor that is advertised to give you everything, and nothing is waste. Some only give you the juice and then the pulp is gone elsewhere, and some give you everything. I'm not asking for endorsement or anything, but just for maybe clarification for some of us. If we take this gizmo, we put the whole fruit in, less the skin, all that we think is edible, and then it goes through the process, and out comes the end product, and we drink it. Are we getting all that we think we're getting, the fiber and all of that?
Well, that would be definitely a healthier thing to do.
Okay.
You're going to blend everything and get the fiber as well.
Okay, so if we drink it that way,
and you drink it that way, that is definitely healthier.
Okay.
Than the juice being separated
from the pulp and
from the fiber.
And then, and the reason I don't want to belabor it, but I think too many of us look at convenience, and then we're probably, not just because of labels, but we're confused at times. So if we have, as advertised on TV, this latest gadget will give you, we buy those things, not just at 3 a.m. in the morning when we can't sleep. We go into the shops looking for them. If we have that thing and now we're drinking it, that would probably enter our bloodstream faster, would it not, than the chewing and the exercise or breaking it down and taking the time to...
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. You made a very valid point. It's really better. So even some person, for the orange, eat the pulp, and then you take the fiber, that part that covers the pulp.
Yeah. All right.
When you eat that, you have less of a spike.
Yeah.
And what you don't want is a sugar spike.
I mean, as we go into the break, I always thought that act of eating the apple, for instance, or taking the orange and peeling it, it's a process. You're not rushing the whole thing as you would gulp down a glass of juice, whether it's 4 or 14 ounces, whatever the sum. And that level of energy expended by chewing and swallowing and digesting, it helps.
Yes, definitely. And I want to make a point as well. Persons who are diabetic, or persons who are pre-diabetic, or persons who have diabetes in their families that are high risk, a good guide is that the sugars per serving should not be more than 10 grams. So what I discovered once when I went to the supermarket and looked at the label, I found that the serving size that was on the box of the orange juice was 8 ounces, right? A regular glass. And that contained 22 grams of sugar.
35s, 45s,
right?
Yeah.
And you have other juices that are 30 grams, and and the body can handle 10 grams.
Yeah.
So it's really good to look at the labels. I looked at the apple juice, right? The same 8 ounce, 27 grams of sugar.
Wow.
So it's good to use the 10 gram as a guide. So it's very good to look on labels. So, for example, because I am high risk for diabetes, I would prefer to eat the apple and drink the water. But if I do drink the apple juice, I'll have about 1/3 glass and I will dilute it. Or you can drink the 1/3 glass and then drink a glass of water.
All right. When we come back from the break, please share with us some more. And I really appreciate you being here, and hopefully people, especially now that we're going to go into the season of eating. You know, man, it's going to be fellowshipping for every occasion. And there's nothing better to bring people together than a plate of food, right? So let's be wise about it. Yes. When we come back, please rejoin us. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be informed and educated, and not to, take the onset or the prospect of diabetes for granted. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Pan in the city. Finally back to Grace Seafarer's Way, proudly sponsored by CUC. Pan in the City returns to showcase Cayman's steel pan talents with both young and adult bands, igniting some Caribbean rhythm. Thursday, November 17th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. on Seafarer's Way in Georgetown.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go, good and cleaner.
Now is the time, and we're ready to help you with your household cleaning needs. And that is bedspreads, comforters, duvets, duvet covers, drapes, and so much more. All items at 7% off prepay, and turnaround time will be 2 to 3 days. Orders can be handled at all 2 stores, Savannah Countryside and Eastern Avenue, drive-through, rain or shine. All stores close at 5:30 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays. Call 949-7104. That's 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners. You feel good when you look good.
Freedom, Cayman Rack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Members of the public are reminded that the Seafarers Awards ceremony will be taking place this afternoon at 4 p.m. at the Allen McLaughlin Civic Center in East End.
Ahoy, mateys! Enjoy a jolly day out with the whole family at Cayman Turtle Center's Pirates Fest Family Fun Day on Sunday the 20th of November. Explore the wildlife, ride the water slide, splash in the lagoon, hunt for treasure and enjoy activities for the whole family. The fun takes place from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Costumes are encouraged, and kids 12 and under in costume get free admission. Don't miss all the pirate festivities at Cayman Turtle Center on Sunday, November 20th. Harg!
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling DWAYNE EBANKS.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to to, if I say this right, Ms. Winsome, diabetic clinical pharmacist, because we see you, in the pharmacy section, but as a sort of educator when it comes to diabetes, you bring a specialty, a particular skill set and knowledge, and of all of the issues that we may face, I still think we don't see diabetes to be as serious as it is, sadly as prevalent as it is, and maybe take it, to to the way that we could improve our lives and our livelihoods and in our health.
That is so true, Sterling. The thing about it is that it saddens my heart when I am doing a diabetes education session with a patient who is relatively young and they have the complications which could be avoided. Recently, in the diabetes education clinic that I do, I met a man who is in his early 50s, and he couldn't see. He could just see the silhouette, and it was diabetic retinopathy, which is something that could be avoided. The diabetes, having long-standing diabetes affected the eyes, his retina.
Yeah, and because you have shared publicly, it's for many of us, we've reminded, and as you just shared just then, you've stayed within that range for these many years, but that's because of what? Discipline, knowledge.
Well, it's really decided knowledge, and that is why this theme is about educating persons, empowering persons, whether you're diabetic or not. It's giving knowledge, because knowledge is power. Right? The thing about it is that I discovered that there are certain foods that are high in fiber, right? Slow the rate at which the food is digested, and so you don't have the sugar spiking, right? The foods with whole grain, right? Whether it is wheat, rye, barley. So that making, if I'm eating bread, it will be either multigrain bread, whether 9-grain, 12-grain, or 15-grain bread, or whole wheat bread, right? Or bread that contains at least 2 grams of fiber, right? Even if I'm eating dumpling, I'll choose something with fiber, whether it is made from spelt flour or whole wheat, or, with the rice, brown rice, or bulgur, or quinoa, or parboiled rice. So I decided to make some choices like that. I decided to stop drinking juices as frequently as I used to. I'll dilute it now and again, but the fruit with the water, dilution, and ground provision is something also that has fiber, and of course vegetables. So there's such a wide range of foods that we can eat and still enjoy, but they're healthier. And
sometimes perhaps we need to do them in moderation.
Moderation is the key as well.
Can I ask, and I think this is where we don't always understand our food. I'll leave that commentary for 1 second, but asking from this listener, you referenced growing provisions. They asked earlier about some of the traditional foods that we eat, the plantain, the cassava, the sweet potato, the yam, the cocoa, and the like.
Yeah.
There's some who say, these are good because they're complex carbohydrates, they break down. Some have been told, you got to stay away from that starchy stuff.
Right. So what I would say is that sweet potato, yam, green banana, plantain, cassava, pumpkin with the skin, breadfruit, cocoa, they are all foods that can be eaten by persons who have diabetes.
Okay.
The yam is complex carbohydrate, so the body takes a long time to break it down to sugar, so you won't have the spiking. The sweet potato and the green banana and the plantain and the cassava, they have fiber. And so because of the fiber, the whole digestive process is delayed, and so you don't have the spiking of the blood sugar levels. But the portion is still very important, right? So normally, as a guide generally, to make it easy for persons, I said the plate should be like half vegetables, quarter starch, and quarter protein. So for the starches, if it's a very big sweet potato, I usually just give a suggestion. If it's a big sweet potato, the person just has the sweet potato alone as a starch, along with the protein, which is the meat kind, and the vegetables. If it's like green bananas, like 4 fingers of green banana, the vegetables and the protein, or 2-finger banana, 2 pieces of pumpkin, just to make it a little simple and easily incorporated in a person's meal. There are even some vegetables that what I refer to as super vegetables. They actually not only have the fiber, but they can actually lower the blood sugar levels, like string beans, okra, Brussels sprout, bitter melon, right? But all vegetables generally are good because of the fiber content, and they give minerals and vitamins as well.
You know, as you say that, my friend would say Corelli, you know, but there are many people, but in the names of certain of, you know, the foods we eat may have be known by different things across the region, and understanding what is it being served.
That's true.
I think that sort of helps us to come and speak to you, people like you, so that we appreciate some of the information that we have that is, you know, regional grown, homegrown,
right,
might be more beneficial than someone else who doesn't have, you know, the cultural context.
That is true. That is true. And we have a lot of, you know, local foods here that persons can consume and keep healthy, because these ground provision, as I mentioned as well, they not only help with the blood sugar control, they also help with the cholesterol, because fiber helps to keep cholesterol under control as well.
Fiber helps to keep cholesterol under control?
Fiber also helps with cholesterol.
How so? And why you reference that, I'm exchanging with someone who says, you know, say they're diabetic, so you don't understand what it is until you're affected by it. Luckily not at the stage now where I'm getting regular transfusions, but has had a digit removed without realizing how serious it was. And I'm going to go into the rest of the things, only asking us to say to people to don't ignore certain symptoms, the tingling,
right,
the blurriness of vision,
right,
the tiredness and fatigue,
right.
But this person shared did not experience, to them anyway, frequent urination, which they always thought, well, that's a sign.
Yeah, they did not
experience that.
Experience that.
I said to the person, they said, well, you never thought it was anything more than usual, all right? Did consume a lot of liquid, including water, and it's assumed it, but in speaking and listening to us and listening to you speak, shared that didn't realize how much sugar through the juices and the like. I'll say it this way. This person relays that oftentimes we think juices are okay because they're fruit juices,
right,
and sodas are bad, so you cut the sodas out, only to appreciate that there was more sugar in the juices than in the...
That is so true.
So thank you, person,
so
for sharing that.
Really looking on the labels is really very, very important. And yes, the thing about diabetes, I'm glad you mentioned that, you know, he might have not had excessive urination, even though that is one of the signs of diabetes. A lot of persons don't even realize that they have diabetes because they're urinating frequently because the body is saying, hey, there's too much sugar in the blood, I need to get rid of it. And because, of course, water comes out with the sugar as well in the urine, the person gets extremely thirsty, and so they're drinking anything they can put their hands on. And they're thinking, oh, I'm urinating that frequently because I'm drinking so much, when it's the other way around. And there are other symptoms, as the listener mentioned, that we should not ignore. Some persons experience weight loss. If you have extreme tiredness, tingling sensation or numbness in the hands or feet is a possible sign that diabetes is on board. Their blurred vision, and I want to explain blurred vision as well. Blurred vision is separate from the complication of diabetes with the blindness that I mentioned before. Right? The blurred vision, somehow the cornea gets a bit the cornea that is in the eye, it gets a bit distorted because of the additional sugar. There's some water absorption that causes the cornea not to project onto the retina as sharply before, right? And so there is a blurriness that is seen, and that is basically the body saying that the sugar is too high, something needs to be done. Because what I have discovered is that several patients that I have counseled in the diabetes education clinic and empowered, that they had a blurriness, and they were saying, oh my God, my eyes are so blurry. And I said, when your sugar gets controlled, the blurriness will go. And some persons after a week, or some persons even after 2 or 3 weeks, right, their eyes become normalized. And no, that is different from when you have diabetes for a very long time, and it affects the blood vessels, those fine blood vessels that are in the eye, damages the retina, which is at the back of the eye, that is responsible for sight. When you have bleeding to the back of the eye, now that leads to diabetic retinopathy, right, which is as a result of long-standing diabetes. And then you will have loss of sight, which is gradual, that can lead to full blindness. But I quickly add is it can be prevented. My father had diabetes from when he was in his late 30s, but because he decided to eat right, be active, or exercise, doing some walking, and take his medication regularly, go to the doctor regularly, doing the tests that he needs to be done. When he died at 83, his eyes were not blind. His sight was not impaired. So it's the choices that you make a big difference in the quality of your life.
Ms. Mason, we have 2 questions, one off here first, that asks if we could weigh in on these zero sugar products that we use, and then some of the sugar substitutes and the like, in terms of controlling the amount of sugar. So I know there are different drinks, say zero sugar, and I read the stuff and I have,
Right. So some products have sugars that contain sugar substitutes. The sugar substitutes, like monk fruit or Equal, Splendor, Truvia or Stevia, they have the sweetness, but it doesn't affect blood sugar levels.
Okay.
So for the past 10 years, I've been, using Truvia, which is a plant-based sweetener, to sweeten my tea or coffee, or if I'm making a drink, so that prevents my blood sugar levels from spiking. So it's very good to look at the ingredients.
Monk fruit is a good substitute as well, right?
Yeah, monk fruit, Equal, Splendor, Truvia, Stevia, those are good sugar substitutes.
Okay.
My father used Equal for many years. I chose to use Truvia. Some persons choose different ones. But they don't spike the blood sugar levels. They don't affect the blood sugar levels. So they are better options.
Okay. And what about those products that say zero base, zero sugar? I'm thinking of a couple of, for me personally, I find 2 things. One, when I read the labels, and from a friend who said, listen, this is sugar, this is sugar, this is sugar. It doesn't say sugar, but you understand, and I just avoid them consciously when I can. I'll rather, take the sugar than to take these other things. So is that one of the challenges then, that some of the products, when we read the ingredients, we don't know that either it's sugar in a different form, or it will be converted to sugar because of the,
Yeah, that is true. And to look for sugar, alcohol. You might see that is one of the ingredients. it's good to look at what are the actual ingredients in the product, because the sugar can be hidden.
Right.
You know.
We have I'm so glad that Mr. Carl is saying here. Let's have this conversation. We have one question has come from 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, but definitely 4 people in almost identical. Can diabetes, both type 1 and type 2, both or either or, be reversed? Oh,
I think that must be the most frequently asked questions.
I think 5 times we have it here.
All right, what I would say, okay, type 1 diabetes is actually when the pancreas doesn't produce any insulin or very, very, very little. And so that person has to be dependent on insulin for their blood sugar levels to be controlled.
Is that what you're born with, inherited?
So persons are not usually born with type 1,
okay,
but it is autoimmune. You know, autoimmune is something that happens out of nowhere, so to speak, where the body turns against the cells that produce insulin and destroy them, you know. And so, but I observed something recently that really kind of surprised me. It is not genetic, but in a particular family, 2 of the children have type 1 diabetes, which is, you know, that is very rare.
So type 1 is not genetic?
It's not genetic.
But in this instance...
Right, it's autoimmune. But, you know, that piqued my interest, because it is not genetic.
Makes me wonder.
You know, but I know type 2 definitely has a genetic component. So in type 1, when you have that, you know, the autoimmune aspect of it, that is preventing any insulin from being on board. Insulin is what basically would lower blood sugar levels after we eat. You know, that would insulin is what facilitates the sugar coming out of the bloodstream into the muscles and providing the muscles with energy, but lowering the amount of sugar that is in the blood. And so definitely type 1, you know, definitely wouldn't be reversed. Okay, type 2 has a genetic component and is highly influenced by the choice of foods that we eat along with exercise. I found something very interesting happen the other day. There was a patient who was actually on 3 different medications, right? And she was able to come off each of them over a period of 2 months.
Wow.
And the thing about it is that if the root of diabetes is a diet and not exercising, if that is the root and that is changed, the blood sugar levels can normalize.
So proper diet and exercise.
That makes a big difference. The portions of the food, spreading out the meals, right? Having a small, a low carb diet, you know, a sandwich or a small breakfast, right, with the, you know, high in fiber, right? Between breakfast and lunch, having a snack in between, whether that is an apple, a fruit, or a few nuts, or a granola bar, or something that is low glycemic to break the hunger between breakfast and lunch. So when you actually have lunch, you're not extremely hungry, because when you're extremely hungry, the body wants a lot of carbs, a lot of starch to be satisfied, right? Including more fiber, which will, with vegetables, that will help to fill you up and lower the amount of starch, right? And not eating too late in the evening, because, you know, especially after a certain age, well, should I say 35 or should I say 40?
You know what?
That the food breaks down to fat and makes a beeline to the stomach. And then when you have a large BMI, you can develop insulin resistance and you're high prone for diabetes. But I've seen persons who have changed their diet and have exercised regularly, that their blood sugar levels have been controlled to the point where that is what controls their blood sugar levels. But that doesn't happen for everybody, because, as I said, it depends on the route. Some persons still don't produce enough insulin, and so I would not advocate persons just stop taking their medication like that without the doctor's involvement and blood test results and all of that.
You've shared an invaluable information, and I think for some of us, we probably hear this often. I've heard it before. I'm hoping today we hear it again as if it's the first time taking it on board. And it's a conversation I think we can have often. I looked up at the clock and realized, as engaged as we are with this, I have to say we have to reconvene at another time. Any closing thoughts you may want to leave with our listeners? It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Always a pleasure talking to you as well. Well, what I would say is that it's good for persons to go to the doctor and get screened, just to know your numbers, especially if you're over 35 or if you're overweight, if you have diabetes in your family, just to know, so that you can take the necessary steps to prevent diabetes or to control your blood sugar levels. It's good to know your numbers. It's good to eat right, exercise, take your medication regularly if you're a diabetic. The most important thing that I say for persons who are diabetic is for the blood sugar levels to be controlled, because that is what prevents the complications, and it's the complications of diabetes that create the problems. The amputation, the blindness, the kidney failure, later on heart attack, heart failure or stroke, and those things can be prevented.
We have had a message exchange with one of our listeners, and I'll share this in closing, who shared that, as a parent with a diabetic child, you don't understand the toll it takes on you and on the family. And even if you think it's, early stages or I'm paraphrasing what this person has shared, the way it upends your life is what this parent writes. The constant worry that you have added to you as a parent is increased significantly, from travel to school to other things, and has asked, we make an appeal to parents to look closely at our children's lifestyle, their foods, their snacks, the fact that we buy them a lot of these things. I read it and I exchanged with you feel it, Ms. Spencer. You feel how it is difficult.
It's really, really a big challenge. One of the things I would encourage persons to do is to find a support group. You have Cayman Islands Diabetes Association. Persons can, they can come and get knowledge from the education clinic that I do, go to speak to their doctor, make friends in a support group where they can learn new ways to cope with the stress of diabetes, establish a routine, see a counselor, therapist, when the stress levels are high, speak with a psychiatrist or a clinical psychologist. Take time to relax. Prayer, meditation, deep breathing exercises help to reduce the stress for both the person who is diabetic plus their families as well.
That's all. Thank you very much. And I'm hoping that, despite the rotation that we can have you and others on, to understand the importance of our lifestyle, how important it is to not skip a meal, but the meals we eat, when, the portion, and what is also important. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I want to say one last thing very quickly.
Yes, ma'am.
Very quickly. Persons who are diabetic, I want to mention something very, very important. Make it a habit, make it a routine. Each time you bathe, to check your toes, check your foot bottom, right? That will enable you to see any little scrape, cut, graze, anything. You can nip it in the bud to prevent losing a toe or your feet. Prevention is better than cure. And being proactive can really save you a lot of problems later.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'll ask you 2 questions off air, but keep in and I'll respond. Thank you.
It was my pleasure being here.
And to our listeners, the Health Services Authority has excellent resource in Ms. Winsome as well as the others. Please, if I may, don't think diabetes is just sugar and we ignore it. It is manageable. It can
be controlled.
Yeah. Thank you.
And they can live a normal, healthy life. I want to mention one last thing. My father had diabetes from when he was in his late 30s. And his diabetes was like he got a good dose of it. Right? But with the diet, exercise, and taking his medication, he was able to retire at 65. He was able to get another 10-year contract, right? So you can live a normal, healthy life if you put in different steps, different.
How about discipline, educated, committed,
eating right,
exercise,
taking your medication.
Smart.
And
Thank you.
You can be fine.
All right. To our listeners, our health is indeed our wealth, and let's find ways to invest. That we encourage each other to live an active, healthy lifestyle. Please join Mr. Art in the morning for the record. Come back for Talk Today after the midday news. We want you to be a part of the education and information, to be entertained, to be informed, be engaged, to be involved, and to feel that you have a vested ownership in this country. Till tomorrow, my friends, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331.
Talk Today is proudly brought to you by Pirates Fest 2022. Stay in the know. Get the full event lineup at piratesfestcayman.com.
And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village. Convenient opening hours, including Sundays